Alright pilots, look alive! To make the most out of your time in a Warzone and to be the best that you can be, you need fellow pilots to watch your back, work as a team, and bring victory to your side, be it Schism or Valkyrie. Get yourself a squad of the most fiercest and talented pilots you know and work together. There are 4 roles that need to be filled with their own talents and abilities to get ahead of the curve. You want to be the best in the Warzone, so make use of everything that you can to be the best that you can be. Your squad will consist of 5 fellow pirates, making sure of all of you keep this in mind and have a plan of attack when choosing which fighters to fly. All depending on the game mode of course, each loadout is different, so you will want to utilise what will take down the enemy in the greatest of ease. Now make sure you use whatever comms are available to you. It's all well going into battle together, but if you can't communicate properly with your squad, then it's just the same as going solo. Communication is key to keep all information flowing, updates on status of fellow members of your squad, and how the enemy is reacting. There are 4 different types of matches which vary in style quite substantially. Each one of these will require a different set of squad set up in order to remain on top of your game. Of course you may need to change the fighters depending on the ship choice of the enemy and have something that will counteract what they have on the field. The general ratio of what should be fielded will remain the same. What we are going to look at is each type of match and what is good. Assault, Supporter, Heavy combo will work well. No Covert, sorry, I rarely see or play the Shadow in any of these. As fun as it is, its nature does not add to the basic base of a well-rounded squad. Now Team Deathmatch you may think is the free-for-all, team-based match. The goal here is to decrease your enemy's clones to 0 before they decrease yours. At the start, each side starts with 30 clones, with only one focus: kill the enemy. A well-rounded squad is key here. You don't want too much firepower or too much defense. The general meta, which I have come to use with my fellow pirateers in Team Deathmatch, are the following: 2 fighter class, 1 heavy, and 2 supports. I would recommend what fighters to use, but that all depends on what is fielded, and a switch up is always in need to be put in place every now and then, as it goes with any of these type of respawn matches. The fighter role. Now upon launch, if you're in the fighter role, it is to keep an eye out for the enemy support ships first. You need to prioritize target in order to be successful. After the supports are off the field, then focus on the heavies in the immediate area. Once all of these are under control, then you are able to mop up your remaining fighters. Make sure you are keeping an eye on your own squad though, as the enemy, if they know what they are doing, will focus on this tactic as well. So keep defense in mind. Support your squad and deal with enemies in the correct order, then you will have no problem. The support role. Being a support member, your main priority is making sure your team is kept alive via heals that they need in each match. But don't just focus on that. If you keep your distance from your teammates and fly in for reps, you can also dish out the damage yourself. A well-oiled team will do well in any of these roles. The heavy role. The role for the heavy fighter is to dish out the damage as much as they can and keep on the enemy, keeping them running and preoccupied. The distracting shots that come from any of these fighters will do the job. Have faith in your team, supports will heal you, and the fighters will keep everything else off your back. The general tips I have are to keep the fight where you want it. Control the field. Don't have it too near your carrier or near the enemies. You pick where you want to fight and make them come to you. If it's on your turf, then you make the rules. This will disorient the team after the first few kills, so stick together and play it smart. Control mode is an objective based game type. Each side starts with 100 clones, with the winner being determined by the side which has the most clones left. Clone depletion rate is also dependent on controlling each of the 3 nodes around the map. A well organised squad can really shine in this game mode and win the round without too much trouble. Mobility is key in control. This is rather more simpler squad selection. 3 fighters and 2 supports should do well. The fighter role. Speed and mobility is your friend in this game mode, and you will quickly have to decide who goes where. Ideally, 1 fighter with 1 support should head to the closest point, A or C, while the other 2 fighters should support and head to B. Those heading to B should take the extra few seconds to place their drone somewhere less obvious. Drones in open space are free points to the enemy. Be ready to back up your squad mates by keeping an eye out on the red squares. If they are starting to get overwhelmed, then send a fighter over to help. Those at the closest point should not leave until the point is captured. The support role. Your job here is simple. Keep yourself and your teammates alive while dropping drones at the points. Since the control points are generally around structures or debris, the support's extra agility over the fighter gives it ability to hug debris real close, making you a very hard target to land hits on. Try not to get distracted too much by kills. If one does present itself, by all means take it, but your focus should be on keeping everybody alive. The general tips: it's very important to manage your capacitor wisely in this game mode. Travelling 3 or 4 kilometers with no boost while watching your buddy gets gunned down is definitely no fun. There are some really obscure and nifty places to land your drone, so take advantage of them, and your enemy will have to take the extra time or risk damage to get your drone to take it out. Now, carrier assault mode is where all the fun is. Nothing solidifies a victory quite like seeing the enemy's carrier burning up and breaking into pieces. As carrier assault uses control mode mechanics to start with, I will focus more on the carrier takedown. The recommended squad composition is 2 support fighters and 3 assault fighters. Now, the fighter role. Your job here is to damage the carrier as quickly as possible. The best carrier assault games have very few kills before the objective is achieved. Pick an armor damaged focused ship with high maneuverability such as the Wraith or the Euro. As the nodes and the core do not use shields, split up and each fighter should pick a section, front, mid or back. Once the nodes are destroyed, move in for the core. With 3 Wraith, you will be surprised at how quickly the carrier goes down. The support role. While attacking the carrier, the fighters are going to be getting a lot of heat from both the enemy team and of course a multitude of flak cannons and missile launchers the carrier itself uses. Take advantage of your agility to stay out of the carrier defense range, and only dash in when a player is taking heat. Normally flying front to rear and back on the jump gate side gives you a good vantage point for your attacking squad and, of course, access to the jump gate should you need to make a sudden getaway. Once your squad has moved onto the core, you should circle above the core room, and instead of going in, it's already a tight space in there, so avoid it unless you need the cover. Now, for some general tips on this mode, once the shield is down, you have 1.5 minutes to do as much damage as possible. This is done first by destroying several cooling modes that are located on the carrier's exterior. These nodes are highlighted on the model carrier on your HUD. There's a flak and missile launcher in the core room. Take these out and you will face a lot less fire in there. After all that, you can sit back and enjoy the fireworks. And finally, we have Extraction. Extraction is a collect and return game mode. With a relic spawning in random spots around the map, your goal here is to get to the relic first, stay alive and return it to your gate intact. Be the first to 5 collections and you will win the match. Be mindful that if you are carrying the relic, then your capacitor will drain twice as fast as it would normally, so boost is generally not an option. The best squad composition I have found is 3 fighters and 2 support. The fighter role, your job here is to get the relic, having one person designated as the collector, whilst the other 2 keep the enemy bay is my recommendation here. Keep them covered from all angles because as soon as the enemy knows you have the relic, they will be all over you like white on rice and a glass of milk and a paper plate in a snowstorm. And for the flip side, make sure that you take out the enemy if they have the relic. One person should focus on taking out the collector whilst the other 2 keep the other fighters distracted. After it drops, scoop it up and carry it to victory. Now for the supporter role, once again your job here is simple. Keep yourself and your teammates alive whilst carrying the relic. Since the capacitor of your collector will deplete rapidly, you will need to give them the extra support they need as much as you can. The support's extra agility over the fighter gives it the ability to hug the debris real close, making you a very hard target to land hits on, and keep your teammates alive. And that's pretty much it for the game modes available at this present time. These are just some of my choices and also some I have come across with on the forums around the internet, especially ones. I will leave a link in the description to their talk with CCP. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like and hopefully subscribe to the channel for more things Valkyrie related and some things that aren't. If you didn't like it, feel free to hit that dislike button. That's what it's there for. Once again, be excellent to each other and fly safe.